All right, welcome back everybody to my YouTube channel. We're gonna be getting back into the swing of things with the videos. I know it took a little break there, but we're gonna be working on staying consistent um, and getting these posted. I don't know if daily is the answer. I think for now, what my goal is to do is 2 to 3 videos a week and keep that consistent. Um, Doing a video a day can sometimes feel a little crazy. So at least for me right now with getting into it. So where we left off is we were doing the devotional here with that I'm going through Tim Tebow, and just recently saw him talk at our church. So yeah, we're just gonna get right into it here, and maybe try to trim these videos down too, and the way it's not crazy long, and I don't lose you guys halfway because probably a boring speaker, to be honest, and I'll get better at that as well. So the devotional that I'm going to be going through today, it is from January 27th in this book. Um, I want to go over this one because I went over this devotional last week with a buddy of mine who I originally, upon making these videos, sent this out to him. And him and I are now doing Bible studies every Thursday night. So we went through this, our first Zoom call meeting. Um, we talked for, I want to say, an hour and a half. It was good catching up with him. I was in his wedding, and he lives up in Ohio. I'm down here in Florida, so it's been a little bit of time. Haven't been able to see him as much as I used to. We grew up in high school together, played baseball together. It was a close buddy of mine, still is a close buddy of mine, and I'm glad he's doing this with me, and we're getting some time in to you know um, recognize God and stay faithful. So yeah, the January 27th. So let's get into it here. And with these devotionals, it starts off with a part of the Bible that Tim Tebow picks, and he kind of paraphrases it, puts it in his own words. So the title of it's called "Until Practice Becomes Reflex." So a great one to pick, with me being not as consistent with my videos. So practice becomes reflex, and the starts off here saying, take pains with these things, be absorbed in them, so that your progress will be evident to all. And that's from 1 Timothy 4:15. So um, going into now what Tim says here is going to be, your brain is a remarkable machine, one that is constantly updating itself without any conscious effort. New neural pathways are constantly being formed. We create new thought patterns by repetition, meaning we can intentionally form new habits. A study from Dartmouth College revealed that a portion of the brain, the dorsolateral striatum, is stimulated when a new habit is formed. The more you do this, the more the activity in this area increases, making behaviors more automatic. When the dorsolateral striatum is activated, and I don't know if I'm saying that right at all, it is difficult to be distracted from your current task because your brain has become accustomed to it. When Paul wrote the words in 1 Timothy 4:15, he was referring to the things that through discipline would make Timothy a godly leader. Like Paul was referring to things like reading scripture, teaching it to others, and using his spiritual gifts. He knew that the more intentionally Timothy worked at those important disciplines, the more they would become ingrained in him until becoming involuntary practices in his life. If you want to live a mission possible life, it's important to actively practice what God has instructed you to do. Sometimes He calls us to carry out actions that feel unnatural, things like loving others and you would rather hate, and being brave in the face of fear that take conscious effort. Still, if you work on them enough, they will eventually become reflex. And then at the end here, You have your portion where you can self-reflect, write down notes. It says, what habits do you need to actively practice today? Um, so for me, habits I need to actively, and I'll go from, on a God perspective, my day-to-day perspective, and, you know, I'll touch everything here. So for me, what do I need to be, practicing? What habits do I need to be practicing more? Um, is, obviously, living a life that God wanted me to live, and, recognizing Him, and, you know, making it more of something that I am aware of. Um, Sometimes I lose track of that, and I don't really, take a step back and realize, hey, like, you need to settle down. And it's important for me to, keep learning about the Bible, and um, growing my faith, uh, because I mean it's something, as of late, has been nothing but good things for me right now. I talked previously in a few videos ago that had some rough things going on in my life. We're getting through them. I mean, everybody has rough patches, and it's important to take a step back and you know acknowledge what really matters. Um, it helps you find purpose, with the Bible studies I'm doing with my buddy. Going to men's groups on Monday nights, going to church Sunday, and a lot of things that keep me actively engaged with learning. Right, so that's been important for me lately, and I'm learning a lot. It's really good, and I I would not say I know everything at all, but I'm getting back into the swing of things. Sorry, I got an itchy nose today. Jeez. Um, but yeah, through discipline, putting these things on calendars, where my buddy and I, every Thursday night, we know that 7 o'clock comes around, we're gonna sit down for an hour, and we're gonna go over the Bible together. Um, for Monday nights, we've got it on the schedule. I'm gonna have my men's group, and we're gonna go over things of, and what our men's group does is we basically reflect on the Sunday service that was the day previous, day prior, um, and church, staying consistent with that. Keep repeating these things, just like how Tim was saying, like, it's muscle memory, and it becomes a reflex. Growing up being an athlete, the more you practice, the more it becomes second nature. Golf, you go to the practice range, you hit a bucket of balls every day. Soon enough, I mean, you're going to be seeing improvements. And like for me with running and going to the gym, you're not going to go from not being faithful to the best Christian ever and know everything in a short amount of time. It's going to take some time. With running, and I've kind of learned this recently. You can't just go from 0 to 100 in a week. Because that's what I try to do. I try to get back in my in running shape where I was probably a year ago, where I was doing 20 miles a week, and going from 0 miles a week to even 8 to 9 miles a week, and not really paying attention to recovery, you're gonna feel it. And that's what I've been feeling in my shins. I've got nasty case of shin splints. So recently been doing the elliptical. That's neither here nor there, but keep those joints intact. So, but yeah, like I'm saying, I mean, it's a slow burn. Anything that's worthwhile takes a long time, and You got to constantly work at it. And if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? That was something that was told to me growing up, and it's something that really speaks heavy. So anything that's worth doing takes hard work. Some more habits that I need to practice is patience, and it goes just along the lines of what I was just saying. Be patient and love. Sorry, I had a spam call. I hate those things. Um, but yeah, what I was saying, practice patience. That goes along with what I was saying. You have to be okay with it not happening immediately, and be able to understand that things take time. Um, Another thing, what habits I want to improve on is, sacrifice. Um, everybody needs to sacrifice at certain times of their life. Um, and what I have been guilty of is, I'll sacrifice time, my, you know, I'll just sacrifice things for people. Um, you know, Paying for something, or sacrificing time. But what what I would end up doing is, expecting in a return for that sacrifice, which sacrifice, that's, you don't sacrifice and get something out of it. Sacrifice means, hey, you're giving up this with no expectation of any return, right? And you got to be okay with that. It's not like, oh, because I've done this, I should expect this to happen for me. So getting better at that is a habit I want to get accustomed to. Um, and it goes along with what I was saying in the beginning, patience. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to post this video and then boom, I'm going to be able to sacrifice and feel like I'm not going to get anything in return. It's going to take, you know, me actively working at it and being okay with the fact that if I do sacrifice, it's not going to make someone or something going to happen to me in a good way. Um, and when you think like that, most often what happens is a bad thing ends up happening. You sacrifice, you think you're going to get something back, and then you're upset that that thing didn't happen. And then your sacrifice really feels like not a sacrifice. It feels like, oh, I've done this, so you need to do this for me. So, being okay with um, just that feeling. Um, so yeah, I mean, just to keep it simple, I mean, you just got to practice things, and everything everything takes time. You know, with learning a new job, with starting in the gym, with you know growing closer to God. It doesn't happen immediately. You gotta you gotta be patient. You gotta have discipline. You gotta stay consistent. Um, Motivation is great, but motivation only gets you so far. I can without a doubt tell you that I'm not motivated at all times of the day, right? So you got to be consistent, and the motivation is just going to help you with staying consistent. But because I mean, when I'm most motivated is when I'm laying down at the end of the night and I'm in bed. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get up tomorrow. I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna get a workout in the gym. I'm gonna go to work, get all these deals done at work, and then after that, come home, make dinner, da 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 da, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed. I'm not gonna be making dinner. Let me just go to Chipotle, right? And I just completely fall apart. But so motivation, it stops when I wake up. But if I practice being consistent, if I just stack days, right? it's going to, build and build and build until it becomes muscle memory, right? You do it enough, it's going to happen. Just like you start, for me at least, if I wake up at a certain time consistently for, let's say, 2 3 weeks, I won't need an alarm clock after that third week. I wake up on that time automatically because my body just becomes accustomed to it, right? That's pretty much it, guys. I mean, you just got to practice until it becomes reflex. Like he said, until practice becomes reflex, literally in the title, just be okay with it not being easy. And I'll say it again, anything that's worth it takes time. If it was easy, everybody would do it. So, that being said, that's going to close out this devotional. Um, Glad to be back and getting the post in. Next video is going to be pretty cool. Um, Actually, I'm going to probably post that before this video. So you'll have already seen the video that I posted before this. It was kind of different. It was me working out, going through some lifts. I didn't really talk too much about the lifts in general. Just kind of talk about my experience with my men's group and a few other things that I got going on. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Love to hear how your guys' journey with your faith's going, any habits that you're practicing daily, and let's do this together. That's why I'm kind of posting this. I want to, hopefully inspire you, motivate you, give you that motivation to, go out and do this because it's not easy. It really isn't. So, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you later. Peace.